Hi, so this is ISpark, which is coming out tomorrow afternoon. I've been beta testing this for a while. I also have the desktop version, and they are virtually identical. The only real difference I think you'll notice as a desktop Spark user between this and the ISpark is that if you go to the studio view, we don't have the modular synthesis that's available to you in the desktop version. But apart from that, everything is very much the same. Okay, so you've got this thing that looks like a device. It's quite familiar as a drum machine goes. As you can see here, I can set my sequences up to 64 parts long. Over on the mixer section, I've got mixers for tracks 1 to 8 and 9 through 16. I've got a sequencer section where I can put in everything I need to do manually, or I can remove steps that I want to get rid of. And I've got a song section where I can arrange all my parts together into a song. Now, one of the nice things about Spark I find is that while most of these sounds are, if I go to the studio here, you can see most of them are samples, and it's got quite a nice sample editor. I can trim the start of this sample, for instance. Or I can leave that lag at the beginning there, so I can trim these around. I can make this particular sample shorter, so if I grab the end of the sample there, I can abbreviate it and so on. And there's you can see a whole bunch of parameters that I can change for any given sample. ISpark also has a built-in synthesizer, drum synths and various other synth engines. I believe there's some physical modeling and other synth engines. Here I've got a synthesizer bass, and I can mess around with all these parameters here and get the sounds I like. And every part in the studio has 2 FX slots as well, and each of these have got a whole bunch of effects that I can add into there. So I can make this a detuned. This is just a chorus effect. These are all the effects I've got. So here I've got crush, chorus, comp, delay, dist, param, EQ, phaser, blah 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 blah, a whole bunch of effects. And within each of these effects, there's a bunch of sub presets. Okay, and going back to the main view, if I press play. As you can see, I got play through the pads. I can also set a pattern. This is like an old-fashioned step sequencer, so for any given part here, these are the patterns that make up the songs. These are the sequences that make up the patterns. So for this bass drum, I can add a couple of extra hits in there. And for a part like the acid bass, for instance, I can also play tuned parts. I'm really going to get rid of that effect, aren't I? It's very annoying. So if I go back to studio, change that back to in time, which I'll just get rid of altogether, I think. Then go back to main. So you can actually write bass lines, and you can tune your parts in here as well. The app comes with a whole bunch of projects built in. This is all the factories, the ISpark factory templates and so on. If I pick on one of these and let it go, load project. I can load the project, or I can just load the kit that came with it. I can loop through them. And we have this little effects pad in the middle here. So we apply a low pass filter globally, band pass. Or a tape drop. can use the repeater. In the studio view, you can actually select the instruments you want. So if I go to, I'll go back to sample here, and this is the name of the sample, this is the name of the instrument I'm using. So in the studio view, if I want to change a particular instrument in my kit, say this thing here, this Rimshot, if I go to the select button here, it'll bring up the instrument browser. And instrument browser brings up all the instruments that are loaded in, and there are lots and lots of them. As you can see, they're sorted by project here. So here's my new project. Here I've got Nordic Progressive Trance. So if I pick on one of these, I can load on pad 10. And you can audition any of them you want over in this pad on the far side here. And if I click type here, I can just limit it by, say, bass drum. So I can load that one on pad 10 there. And if I go back to studio now, I've got a Okay, so if I go back to the studio, if I'm browsing through these, you can see which engine I'm using. So here's the analog engine, that's a sample engine, analog engine again. If I load up this analog sound here and go back to studio, I can now play with some of the analog drum features. And there's a lot of stuff to mess around with here, so you can make yourself some interesting and new sounds and then add some effects to them. Let's put some crush on there, yeah, like that. And then let's add a bit of delay to that. And so on. So overall, there's a lot to play with in this app. It's very smoothly presented, as you'd expect from the Arturia guys. The whole thing is very nicely thought out, and I would recommend you go and buy it. Okay.